this on here. See if this is gonna work. It looks like Rumble's having some troubles here. Oh no. All right. Looks like Rumble is having problems. It created two events and I deleted one. So those of you on Faith and Freedom TV, I'm sorry, but we have way more people that watch us on Rumble, so I'm going to have to take this as a restart. So let me see if I can get this working or not. Doesn't look like it. Looks like I'm going to have to re-go on it. All right, guys. So I'm sorry for the people on Faith and Freedom TV. We're gonna have to take another shot at this. So we're gonna basically have to restart in about 5 minutes. I think is what I'm gonna have to do. I'm pretty sure this is not live now. Let me just refresh it one time. Now it looks like it is going. It's going on some Rumble channel. So good. So on the Rumble Studio, say video not found, and it's basically saying it's not working. But when I move over to Rumble, it's working. So awesome! Thank you guys. So let's dissect this a little bit. It says while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines. So yeah. So T Mitchell's saying it's okay. Missy's saying I hear you, Rick. So looks like Rumble is actually working. Sorry for the false alarm there. This is then. So he doesn't just stop with mail-in ballots. He goes right to the voting machines, right? So this EO, I'm hoping, is not just on the mail-in ballots, but also was on the voting machines because this is big. This is the battle. This is the hill the deep state will die on, right? I guarantee you, they will die on this right now. And so it's like which is 10 times more costly, talking about the voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others have gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before. And that's another thing, just completely calling out the truth. Because you see that. Anybody who says that a minority cannot get a voter ID, we shouldn't have voter ID, that is 100% politically motivated and racist, by the way, because it's like, give me a break. Everybody needs a license in the United States for hundreds of things. We've mentioned them all the time. To even go to certain movies, you have to have it, right? To even get on an airplane, there's so many things you need an ID for. Everybody has them, right? That's why the illegals go get illegal social security numbers and illegal licenses themselves, right? So the fact that we can't have just simple voter ID is absolutely silly. And anybody who argues against that is only doing it because they want power. Or they love or they hate Republicans so bad, that would be another reason. Or they're just really racist. That could be another part of it, right? By signing the executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do with their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone. And that's so true too. So many people are waking up to this control media of Mockingbird Media and how bad woke is. That's why Trump won the election despite the machines by overwhelming them. Plus we unrigged it. We'll talk about that. We kept them from being able to use their virtual machine from Siberia like they did in 2020 and they did in 2022. And so they're scared to death. They don't have mail-in ballots. And we continue to have the success that we have right now in the next year, that they're gonna be just wiped out. And that's what Q talks about, is the end of the Democratic Party. I believe we're starting to see that right now, guys. Is that the Democratic Party has been taken over by anti-God, and they took the God out of their platform, I think in 1971. and they have and they're doing what the Bible says about what's good is being called evil, and what's evil being called good. That is something that is clearly happening right now. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots and voting. This is all capitals, right? And everyone, in particular, the Democrat knows this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. And so, again, this ties the mail-in ballot problem with the voting machines, because they link the voter rolls with fake voters, and many of those illegals, they don't want to risk being sent out the country. They're not voting, but they're being voted for. Does that make sense? And same with the fake voter roll people that are on there. So that allows them to pass an audit by just saying, hey, here's a voter roll, and here's a vote that came in, yeah, and the voting machines are that sophisticated, the whole system, to rig this and be able to sway things 15-20%, which is enough to sway most elections. Remember, without fair and honest elections, a strong and powerful borders, you don't have even a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. I like how he just ended that in a little more, didn't say DJT, he said President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He's basically trying to say, I have authority over this country, and we're going to have fair elections. This is, to me, the most exciting thing. And here's an embarrassing fact. I was doing things right after 2020, right? Of course, not many people saw it because they took down my YouTube. They took down everything right after January 6th, right? But right after the 2020 elections, right, in November, before the January 2021, between that time, I did a whole series on the upcoming election sting. I thought the election sting was actually going to happen in 2021. And many other people did too, as they were predicting that Biden wasn't going to be actually inaugurated. God had different plans. God wanted to show us, because you can't tell us, and so many people have to be shown, you can't tell them what 4 years of globalist control looks like and where they're leading us, right? And but this election sting is finally happening. It took some great patriots like Patrick Byrne and what they've done with people actually coming into Gitmo and showing the evidence, showing exactly how they used the virtual machine. Patrick Byrne talked all about that on the Roseanne show that I reported on. Juan Savins reported on that in detail here on this show as well. So it's exciting now to see that we are going to get our country back based upon massive election fraud being declassed. So you see all those declasses, they've been doing 1% at a time all the way back starting with 2016, right? And it's going to be moving to, okay, now Robert Mueller goes into, okay, now you got the impeachment hoaxes, right? And now, boom, election fraud, which I believe all that is going to be released after Trump's executive order to make it undeniable that we cannot have the voting machines. And that is going to be huge and exciting. And I'm looking so forward to living that with you guys and showing how that all goes back to the Q drops and how the end of the Democratic Party is before us, and including erasing Obama, which we'll get to in a bit. But let's continue to dig into the breaking news here, and quite exciting. Here is Scott Presser talking about this as well. Let's listen.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be back here on the War Room. Thank you, Natalie, for having me. You know, I'll tell you on behalf of the millions of people that follow me, I can tell you that among peace and the economy and securing the border, election integrity is one of the most important issues that the Trump voter base cares about. And we want to make sure, especially going into this November in the midterm elections, that every American can know that their vote is going to be legal, lawful, and that one person equals one vote. And so it's a lot to unpack with President Trump's plan. If anything, I would probably surmise what it means, Natalie, is that President Trump may declare a national security emergency when it comes to election integrity, and therefore he will then be able to issue executive orders at the federal level in order to provide for layers of election integrity. Now, when it comes to mail-in voting, what
that is real key. That's the powers of the president are huge, and thanks because Joe Biden didn't use them as much as he could have, and that's why many people talk about full control and the fact he was actually extending executive orders that hurt the whole deep state. Makes you think that the full control, that somehow they're controlling different pieces of this to make it not so bad that we could never recover. Because I believe they could have if they really had full control of Biden, if the Black Hats had full control of him, and they didn't, right? And I don't believe we had full control of him. I believe we had control enough that they had to do certain things, which just devastated them, such as the national emergencies that were carried over for so many things, right? Including all the National Guards and what they've been doing behind the scenes. But and another emergency about election infrastructure will allow them to mandate things like voter ID, no mail-in voting, and no machines. Now, will they have enough time to put all the counting? That's what they're going to argue. We don't have time. It's too late. It's too late. We have to use the machines. We have to use the machines, right? That's going to be the big argument. So we'll see how all this plays out. But here's more of Scott talking about this.
What I believe is probably going to happen is when it comes to federal elections, the president will probably make sure that we put an end to automatic vote by mail. And what I mean by that is states like Oregon, California, Washington, even Utah, Hawaii, you have these states that every registered voter, California, receives a mail-in ballot, whether or not that person has requested one, which is totally different than absentee voting, or for our military, for example, or for the elderly, or for people that aren't going to be able to vote on election day. And so I believe that there are probably still going to be some ways that people can legally and lawfully vote and have their voices heard, but President Trump will be curtailing the automatic vote by mail. And I do want to give a brief shout out to Ben Edel in Oregon, who is working right now to collect signatures to end automatic vote by mail in the state of Oregon. And that's probably what I see happening, Natalie.
Yeah, and I believe that Trump's going to go way beyond what Scott's thinking, right? That would be a good step. But now eliminating it completely and for massive issues, right, such as people that have a full legal disability and cannot drive, as an example, and or you have a military, as exactly he was talking about, but the general person being able to just actually do this, no. And you can see this is a big battle. Andrew Yang, complete deep stater, says we should be making it easier to vote, like voting on your phone, not harder. And so obviously the easier to cheat is what he's really saying, because that's what they need. That's the only way they stay in power. No, and this is why Ash in America, I'm from Badlands, is saying, no, we did 2 decades of that. And we got fake voters, fake ballots, fake counts, and the lowest levels of institutional trust in U.S. history. Remember, Yang is a globalist who pushes taxpayer-funded UBI so corporations can continue exploiting Americans for free. That's exactly right. But look at this. Now we get into the whole thing about this Trump-Putin thing, and he's now brokered a meeting between Zelensky and Putin. And again, this says meeting between Zelensky and Putin would have followed by a trilateral discussion involving the U.S. So all these, this is an optics type thing. I believe this has already been planned out, but we'll see how this all works out. Hey guys, if you missed last night's show, make sure you get to see Dr. Ely and his passion for telling the truth about health. And that's what the way all 4 of these doctors are, the Healing for the Ages annual conference. If you can't make that in Dallas, I'd recommend if you get to Dallas, you get cheap hotels and cheap flights to Dallas, especially if you get them now, because it's not until October 23rd and 25th. So you have plenty of time to get cheap tickets and come. I'll be there. I'd love to see you guys on October 23rd to 25th. I'm probably going to also be in San Francisco on the 1st with Mary's Showdown there for the Open the Heavens event. So those will kind of be 2 areas you'll be able to see me publicly, is October 23rd and 25th here in Dallas, and then also in San Francisco on November 1st with Mary Crowley on that But this is like just 5-star reviews coming all the time. This is one of the best conferences I've ever been to. I think the best conference I've ever been to as far as health for sure, hands down. These 4 get together and people love it. So again, this is Dr. Artist, Dr. Group, who's doing all that stuff on InfoWars way before he left. Alex Jones going, his heart's not right. We're moving on. And he was going to retire. But then he saw what Artist was doing with all the COVID and all the facts he was bringing out. And he goes, and they partnered. And then Dr. Ely, just incredible stuff on nutrition. And Dr. Smith with her B, Poland and everything. These 4 are going to change healthcare going forward. They really are. And this is a 2-day conference with them, and then the 3rd day with a bunch of guests they're bringing that are incredible as well, such as Dr. Tenpenny and many others. So I think you'll enjoy that 3-day conference. So get your tickets, and you can have it online as well. And so there's a huge discount using the B2T code. So make sure you go to healingfortheages.com. That's healingfortheages.com. Remember, Ages spells their name, AGES, Artist Group, Ely, and Smith. It's a great conference. Again, go there, sign up for the virtual if you can't make it live here in Dallas, and then use the B2T code to get 30% off. 30% off the cost using the B2T code. All right. Newsmax is saying, here's a poll. Trump's approval rating jumps after a Putin summit. This is even this is interesting because, to have all the fake polls out there, and all the media doing 90%, 95% negative on him, makes it crazy when you start seeing a 54% number. You don't see that very often. President Trump's approval rating surged to 54% in the aftermath of this summit, 43.6% disapproving. So you still have a lot of people that are still completely snowed in our country, right? And the good news is that the younger population that doesn't watch as much Mockingbird media, they're trying to control them for social media. But now that we do have the Rumbles and we do have the X's that gives a variety of opinions, and we're starting to break that out. And so it surged 4 percentage points in a month in the July's poll, where it was 50% went to 54%. But what's interesting is that the age groups here. Look at that, 57% when you get to 18 to 39, and 56% from 40 to 64. And so it was really this older group. Compare that to 40% with those 65 and older. So the 65 and older crowd in general are watching fake news. They're watching the MSNBC. They're hooked to, and they just haven't broken away from that as much. So we have a lot of work to do with our 65 and year older crowd, right? But the good news is that because of the social media, that we don't have many 18 to 39 year olds watching CNN anymore, right? That's they're usually getting their news in a different way, and so that's the battle. The battle is here. Please thumbs up this, share it. It's the only way we're going to get the truth out there. Donald Trump is now an advantage among every age group other than the most senior voters. He has improved his numbers among African Americans and Hispanic Latinos, while voters are near record 64%. White voters are 64%. Voters under 65 years of age now approve of his job performance by wide margins. And this is complete turnaround from where we were. This is huge. We have a chance to get our money, our country back, especially if the D class keeps coming out. That's going to continue. That's a lot of that. This D class is, I believe, is part of that. It's not just the Putin thing. It's just it's the D class stuff's being internalized. People are realizing we had a bunch of criminals running the last 4 years. Trump blasts media's dishonest coverage of the Russia-Ukraine negotiation. So he's just always been on this, and I love this man because he is doing what I started 7 years ago, and that is exposing the Mockingbird media that controls our minds of our people and gets us to fight against each other, and we don't realize it's the cabal versus we the people, and we think it's a right-left thing when it's really not. We have to. The rhinos are worse than the Democrats because it's the cabal that controls both sides of the establishment, and that's a beautiful thing, and that includes the owner of Fox News as an example, right? They're completely controlled. They have to act like and that's why they settled all that money and gave it to Dominion without even really fighting. So really interesting. So again, yesterday we had the Healing for the Ages Elion. So go make sure you hit that if you missed that yesterday. Great interview about how he really focuses people on what really matters for your health. And and he talks about the Flexner report and the whole big pharma cartel and the pharmakia and how that happened. So catch that interview if you missed that yesterday. Here's Chanton Zell. Trump says Zelensky can end the war with Russia almost immediately by doing these two things. And this is the two things that they don't want to do. They want the two things really have to do with no-brainer things that he's been talking about for quite some time. And that is really the first thing is not going into NATO by Ukraine, right? Because that was a red line in the sand. Now they're trying to get as close to that as they can with all these ironclad security. Basically, if Russia comes back in, U.S. is going to agree to go to war and blow up Russia. And Trump's going, no, we're not going there, because that's what NATO would say. And so basically, NATO says if one country is attacked, then all countries go to war against whoever's attacked them, right? And that's one reason why Vladimir and Russia for centuries, for decades, because of what happened that happened at their border with the Nazis, right? So, and there's a lot of Nazis in Ukraine, by the way. Still, they've been rebranded, but this is where they hate Jews and they hate Russians. That's what Hitler was trying to do: take over everybody, right? But no getting back Obama given Crimea. That's another. Those are two things, right? So 12 years ago, without shot being fired. So the whole point being is that is that there was a coup done by the globalist and Obama to take over eastern Ukraine, and so now those are the two things that article is talking about. Bank execs reveal how Obama and Biden twisted their arms, forced them to cancel conservatives. So shame on these banks. They're part of the globalist cabal too, most of them anyway, right? But the fact is that now some whistleblowers are coming out. And so I had 9 accounts, I think. It was a business, my wife's business, my business, my personal accounts, all different personal accounts I had, and plus my ministry account. So I had like nine accounts, all canceled from Washington Federal, WAFD, by the way, who canceled all my accounts. And so pretty crazy. And one of them was like I was selling CBD and got a check for like $602. I think it was $602, right? And it was a really great product, and that whole $600 rule, they started looking at everything, and so part of it was that, part of it was this platform telling the truth, right? But it's wild how these guys attack us, and so pretty crazy. By the way, I think you can still get that CBD, Nessa's hemp. It's awesome, all natural type stuff. You can see that. Hey, I love the U.S. debt clock, right? They always talk about and show what's happened with Doge, what's happening with, when they talk about silver and what was going on with that. But you'll see here they do a future headline. This is going to be a future headline. I believe this is true. And this is what I talk about when the Babylonian system crashes. When it says federal marshals raid Federal Reserve building in New York City in search of looted USA gold. And it says the Federal Reserve is a private banking cartel created in 1913. And so this is important for us to continue to let people know about this cartel, and the IRS being the collection agency for it. And when we don't have an IRS and we have the External Revenue Service, and we do not have or the IRS becomes more of a business-oriented type thing, or collecting, some type of overall federal sales tax for only new items. Those are some of the things that I think are going to be coming. But when this federal thing crashes, that the banks, especially J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, have so many derivatives which are shorting silver. Still today, they did a record amount of them. Kirk Elliott was talking about that. So anyway, just understand that this is going to be exciting as we move to a new monetary system. And so Larry Ballard, who's going to be doing exclusives on Faith and Freedom TV only, it's not going to be on Rumble. Every week we're going to be going to the details, and one of the first things we're really going to be digging into. He's going to be coming on Thursday. We'll be teasing it and giving it a lot of detail, but we're going to be in more detail every single week. I think it's going to air probably every Wednesday or Thursday on Faith and Freedom TV exclusive channel. And wow, it's going to be quite exciting. But there's all kinds of fun stuff here that you'll find on the U.S. debt clock there. And in fact, if you could just go to, I might flip over to that, usdebtclock.org, U.S. debt clock, there it is. It's just, they do all the Doge stuff and so many other things. So you get a free book on what's going on here. You can see that what they have here. I'm going to cancel this and see if I can get back to the U.S. debt clock. But over here you can see they still have silver when they're estimating it to be at 1,557. It's at 38 right now, guys. That's a 5-year ratio they're talking about there. So dollar to silver ratio. So again, if you just think that and that's based on just how much money is being printed. That's the key to this. And so you can see silver has gone from, when I've been talking to you guys at it, when it was down to $18 an ounce over the last 3 years, is now at 38. Right, pretty good investment, huh? But the point being is that this 38 is nothing compared to 1,500, right? So when you think about the 30, 60, 100 fold, that's why I always tell you guys, make sure you have precious metals as part of your portfolio. If you have any wealth, especially if you have an IRA or 401k you could move, or you have some significant cash or investments that you could sell, having stuff in that is liquid, you can get this out in 3 or 4 days really fast. It's almost like selling stock, but you don't have the risk of the stock market. This is a great place to invest. And again, to get the best advice, Kirk Elliott does a free consult with his team, 720-605-3900. So give him a call. You can also go to kepm.com/B2T. But make sure you tell them Rick B2T sent you. They'll prioritize your free consultation, 720-605-3900. It does, you can get it online bank US, even if you're international. But most importantly, guys, just make sure you understand what could happen when the Babylonian system crashes, right? It's going to be a new money revolution. I went over this whole deck with you guys. A golden age. I believe that's what's coming, with the dividend dollar to replace the fiat dollar. That will actually increase in value. And if you get that back to buy silver and gold, could that be the 30, 60, 100 or something? That I believe it's going to be part of what happens here. Trump and Trump Truth. I love this. He's talking about, he forwarded this thing that talked about Obama, Biden, and Clinton criminal investigations are most likely approaching, Trump ally says. And this is Mike Davis says, lawyer up, lawfare Democrats. Justice is coming. Nobody is above the law. Yes, that's exactly right. And again, so this Obama-Biden criminal organization is going to be completely exposed, and that is one of the most exciting things ever, for sure. I'm going to go back to that and see if I'm going to open it up. This is NBC News. For years, Mike Davis has called for probes into what he calls the greatest conspiracy in American history. New investigations approved by Attorney General Pam Bondi have raised his hopes. And so, again, this is about ready to happen. Mike Davis actually telling people about it. Bondi order came weeks after National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accused Obama and his aides of a treasonous conspiracy and said she had sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department. Davis applauded Bondi actions in a recent interview. And guys, with arrests are coming. We had. I wonder if I could find that real quick. But I do have I had 4 YouTube channels taken down, right? But I do have a YouTube channel, 2 left, and I just created a 3rd one to do the Faith and Freedom TV, right? But if you go to my account, just Blessed to Teach on YouTube, you'll see the shorts I put on there. And And I think if you go to that channel, you'll see this. So it's just a regular Blessed to Teach logo right there, right? Blessed to Teach. This is, again, I got 4 channels taken out by them. But there's shorts here that I can play, right? So there's a lot of stuff about that we just put up that had, there's one here, I think it was Mary Crowley interviewing him. I think it's right here. Let's listen.
Albert Pike says it right in the middle of the book. Let there be no misunderstanding. The God whom we serve is Lucifer, right at the center of morals and dogma.
That's not it. That's one that was more around Lucifer. I was trying to, I thought I could find real quickly the one. Treason occurred here. This might be it.
I expect that there's going to be pushback as we get into the arrest phase. Everybody's been warned arrests are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't think for an instant that nothing's going to happen or nobody's going to jail. The reality is it'll start at Justice Department and switch over to military for a bunch of logistical reasons. Treason occurred here on lots of different levels. So it's going to be a gripping period. I've been saying for a very long time before this is over, it's going to be like the Cuban Missile Crisis because there is a push by a group behind the scenes that wants 3 world wars.
Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.
So all those people that are interviewing Juan and everything all are on Faith and Freedom TV, guys. So make sure you've downloaded that or just go to faithandfreedom.tv and you'll find, especially when we get the exclusive content there, it'll be an awesome place to get your friends and family on as well that use TVs and they don't go to Rumble, right? Because it's on all the TV platforms. Rumble, Faith, some people have the Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, right? All those TV platforms. Plus, it's on your iOS devices, so make sure you download it on your iPhone. And again, just search Faith with the N, Freedom TV, and go to faithandfreedom.tv to actually get the web app. The web app is fantastic, and I'm really excited about how many people want to come on this platform and how many people we're onboarding. It's going to be a fun time to dig into that. But this treasonous conspiracy, guys, is real. There's going to be all kinds of things, links all the way up to the Epstein files as well. And now everybody's demanding it, so it's going to be awesome. The U.S. economy maintains its high S&P rating, and analysts find Trump tariffs offset his tax cuts. And that's what this whole Justin News article is all about, digging into the something that all the analysts were wrong, right? That they chicken little stuff, where they were yelling and screaming, right? S&P also projects the country's fiscal deficit won't deteriorate over the next several years, but it won't meaningfully improve either. The firm expects net general government debt to surpass 100% of U.S. GDP over the next 3 years, but it believes the general governmental deficit will average 6% from 2035 to 2028, down from 7.5% last year. And so Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said tariff revenues for this year could be well in excess of 1% of GDP, revising his previous estimates of $300 billion. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the recently passed budget law will add $3.4 trillion to the deficit over the next decade. So this whole Congressional Budget Office is a bunch of losers, always wanting to make Trump look bad. Politically organized organization. Here's a Trump. He retruthed many of Dan Scavino. Remember, Dan Scavino was the social media director during Trump's first term when all the Q drops were being synced together. Q would do a drop, and within some they call them zero deltas. At the same time, Trump would tweet. Right, physical, almost impossible to do. And so Dan Scavino was probably part of the Q team, or at least working with the Q team. So it's really interesting to follow him. So if you had not followed Dan Scavino Jr. On Truth as well as on X, he's a good one to really keep up with what's going on. And here's one of them that Trump retweeted right here. And it showed Washington. Trump's aluminum and steel tariffs are working, which is crazy That's coming from the Washington Times. And here they still support workers, you can see. So that whole thing is backfired on all the liars in the media, right? The museums through Washington. And so this is another thing. This is Trump truthing about museums and the wokeness that's in here, especially the Smithsonian that he's going to talk about here. The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished and downtrodden have been. Nothing but success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen, and I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities, where tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke, because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want people to talk about it, including our museums. So this is beautiful. You have to change culture. We gave up the mountain of media. We, as Christians, we gave up the arts and entertainment mountain. We gave up the education mountain. And then we trained all our kids and brought this wokeness all into us, right? Finally, it's got so extreme. Our kids are rebelling. It's the great news. That is just awesome news as we see this. And here's Trump saying, stupid and ugly windmills are killing New Jersey. Energy prices 28% this year, and not enough electricity to take care of state. Stop the windmills. So Trump continuing to hit this whole climate change, Green New Deal crap as well. He's hitting Texas. Congratulations, Texas. The July border statistics are in, and the July border statistics are in. And one again, they are the lowest recorded numbers in the United States history. The U.S. Border Patrol reported 0 releases of illegal aliens in the country. Texas border is safe and secure, and the entire world knows it. And all we need to do is keep it this way. So this is exciting just to see this whole border patrol stuff in Texas, even though Texas has got a bunch of weak Republicans, a lot of rhinos in Texas, especially in the House. That's why the Democrats are getting away with not and stopping them from doing what needs to be done in the redistricting. Here it says in New York Post, it's the age of Trump, and he's forging a new political era. This is another thing Dan Scavino actually posted, and so just awesome stuff. Here's a little meme that they posted as well, and basically was reliving way back in October of 2023. What did Trump say in October of 2023 about D.C.? Here it is.
Washington, D.C., our once beautiful capital, has become a dirty, crime-ridden death trap that must be taken over and properly run by the federal government. It is and will be part of my election platform. We will clean it, renovate it, rebuild it, and most importantly, we will make it safe. Right now, it is probably the most unsafe capital city anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and that's something that can't happen. And obviously, so you can see that's promises made in October of 2023, a year before the 2024 election, obviously, over a year, and he is actually cleaning it up. Boom! State Department revokes visas of 6,000 foreign students accused of crimes and support for terrorism. So our universities were just completely woke and bought off by Qatar and many other of these extreme organizations. So it's really good to see that they're really coming down hard on that. It's not just illegal immigrants; it's also these foreign students that are coming into our country. That crackdown's happening. Here's another part. It says 40 MS-13 gang members arrested in Long Island ICE crackdown. So getting rid of the MS-13 and these gangs is going to be real critical as well. But then you have these crazy Democratic cities like Boston's Woo fires back up Bondi's, citing revolution as the cities slam feds over sanctuary warnings. So Boston, Philadelphia, Washington State, and other jurisdictions received warnings from Bondi. So Bondi's saying, yeah, watch out, ICE is coming in. You better support them or there's going to be legal action against you. So Pam Bondi being the head law enforcement, right, a prosecutor of the whole land. Remember, the FBI reports up through her, the DOJ reports up to her. So you get a warning from Pam Bondi, you better be acting. Here's another big attacks on Trump, or saying that he didn't understand the details of this. But you see this: a criminal illegal alien recklessly driving an 18-wheeler kills 3 in Florida. So this is an illegal alien in Florida, and you know how when you're driving on the highway and there's these little usually gravel crossovers that are for police only. Well, this truck literally tried to, huge long truck, turn and do a U-turn, and he's got like 2 trailers on the back, right? Blocking all the lanes, and a car driving in one of the lanes literally ran into him as he illegally was. So an illegal alien was doing an illegal U-turn, covering all the lanes in the highway. Crazy stuff. Another example of probably somebody that can't speak English very well. There's actually a video of this happening. You can see here he is in the truck with us. It looks like some friend as well. I'm not sure if he's illegal as well. This is an illegal alien. I would guess not speaking English, most likely doing something that you're not supposed to do, especially when you have 2 huge trailers behind you, turning where everybody's going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, right, and trying to do a U-turn across the highway in an area you're not even supposed to cross. And you can see here where these 3 people died. Boom. So look how long that truck was. He was covering the whole thing up, turning right in the middle of the highway. And I'm going to rewind that one more time just to show you. See, there it goes. It starts turning right in the middle of it. And those 3 people died as they. See how big that truck is. Don't go from 60 miles an hour and then slow down to 0. His truck was going 0 when they hit there, and you can see all the ambulances and everybody. 3 people losing their life because an illegal alien. It'd be interesting to see if he even speaks English. Here's Laura Loomer saying, breaking 5 days after I exposed Russian collusion hoaxer and Obama clapper henchwoman Stephanie O'Sullivan still had a security clearance under the Trump administration, I called it to be revoked. Her clearance was revoked today by DNI Gabbard. I exposed how Stephanie O'Sullivan is one of the board of trustees for the QTEL IQT, which is the congressionally funded venture fund that was created by the CIA in 1999. Thank you, Tulsi. More scalps. And so you can see these, we finally took a couple of these people out. So Laura Loomer, like her or hate her, she is bold and definitely an attention seeker, but she's, in my opinion, doing a pretty good job on some of these things, right? Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know on, he does not speak English, says T. Mitchell. So yeah, that's not good. The first peer-reviewed paper defines COVID-19 vaccine-induced turbo cancer. So guys, this whole medical cartel, like Dr. Ely and what the Healing for the Ages, that's why I'm saying you will find, I love how Dr. Ely talked about last night. Instead of make America healthy again, it's make yourself, M-Y-G-A, right? Make M-Y-H-A, Maya, right? So make yourself healthy again, and the way you do that is can be found out. You got to get rid of processed foods is one of the biggest things, right? And there's so many good foods you need to be eating and or taking supplements, and that is why Healing for the Ages, you'll learn so much. These 4 doctors are phenomenal, and the Q&A sessions are phenomenal. So again, go to healingfortheages.com. That's healingfortheages.com. Use the B2T code to save 30% off the online, or come in person, and I'll see you there. All right, let's look at, this whole thing just talks about, for the first time, turbo cancers move from censorship into the peer-reviewed medical literature. This is good news, that everything We all know this, but the masses don't, right? Aggressive, fast progressing cancer, sudden relapse and remission and advanced onset in the young. Sad stuff. Data from the US, UK, Japan show cancer spikes in 2021. VAERS flags breast. What's that? Chlorocetal, liver, admetitrol, more. Mechanism: spike protein disrupts the p53 BRCA1, reprograms metabolism, activates cancer stem cells, blocks immune defenses. High risk cancer survivors, elderly, multi-boosted, strong family history. So just really, really sad that but the truth is finally coming out. That'll be a beautiful thing when all that. Now that I think I'm starting to go live on one of my YouTube channels. That section will probably get it out. Get a strike and get the video pulled for telling the truth. It's really hard. Like Judy Mikovits here highlights. It'll be highlighted right away. Hot off the press, the Real Dr. Judy newsletter says, hello everyone, it's been a busy summer so far, making sure that all my families receive the proper immunization protocols with their yellow immunization cards. So this is her telling truth as well. Follow her on X. I think this is on X. So she's I was in Boise, Idaho, back of the center, this Karlafeld Center, teaching, and how and now I head south of Chicago for Let My People Heal event in Illinois on the 16th, joining Brian Ardis and a panel of experts showing you how to reclaim your medical sovereignty. So some great events coming up. Brian Ardis and Mikovits here. Just want to make sure that was in the show notes for you guys. Again, you get free show notes every morning, Tuesday through Friday. If they're free, just go to blessedteach.com, blessed with the number 2teach.com, and they're there. All right, guys, that's pretty much the hour of news I wanted to give. But I'm going to take the next, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes or so to dig into this, how Obama is being erased and how it ties back to all the Q drops, right? So I've read quite a bit of this for around 15 minutes before. I'm going to start from the beginning, so you can fast forward this if you're watching the video, if you saw me doing this. But this is engaging stuff. This digital soldier does a great job linking things back to Q drops and understanding where we are. So let me read this. This will be an awesome read, almost like reading the Q drops, but kind of relating it to what's going on now and how Obama is being erased. The R, right? R standing for renegade. That's what Q was looking at. So let's dig in. It's also got great memes on here. So if you can watch this from video, on the video, I think you'll enjoy it the most. Renegade targeted. The end game is near. The king is finished. Trump just erased R from history. The signal that Obama endgame is here. And we'll be wrapping up on the faith and freedom here at the top of the hour. And obviously you can move over to Rumble if you're watching this live, and you will be able to see the rest of this. Here we go. Trump just erased the R from history. The signal that Obama's endgame is here. The mission letter that shook the board. Trump doesn't accidentally misspell words ever. When Trump drops a letter, he's not making a typo. He's sending a code across the digital battlefield. A signal to the operators. A warning to the invisible enemy. A wake-up call to the Anons. And now, if you're reading this, you're about to see why the single missing letter could rewrite American history. So this is a recent thing that Trump did, that this Anon believes is doing what this meme says right here, where Trump is pointing to Obama and saying, when I'm done, it will be like you were never even here. And there's some prophecies about this too. A lot of prophecies talking about how once we clean up this house and move to the best is yet to come, it's going to be like Obama was never here. It's going to be beautiful. Best market in history, no R gone. This is Monday, August 11th, 2025. President Trump sent the signal, where this is part of what his you'll see it in a second. It had a missing R. See, it says best market in history. There's no R there. Best market in history. You see that? No R, gone. And Q was very clear that missing letters were done for a reason. And there's a lot of decodes on that. For those of you who aren't real familiar with the Q drops, very, very common that Trump used this as part of his back channel to wake up and get these anons researching so that we, as the people that aren't into the massive anon, remember anon meaning anonymous, there were a lot of these people that were just incredibly brilliant people that did research, didn't trust the government, and they activated these anons. And when they researched everything, they would post up stuff, and that's where my channel blew up to grew to 109,000, almost 110,000. Because they pulled it right before the 2020 election, right? So pretty interesting. Anons know R equals renegade. Renegade was Barack Hussein Obama's Santeros selected United States Secret Service codename. A codename Q has been hammering for years. A codename that means traitor. When R vanishes from history, it means exactly what it looks like. Obama is erased. The renegade is erased. The king is erased. History is about to be rewritten with Obama on it. Here's Trump's full truth that actually had the very end of it. Best market in history without the R, right? Because of Trump deranged bum sue them. And I'll just read this whole thing. It says Paul Krugman of the New York Times has been predicting doom and gloom ever since great election success in 2016. In other words, he has been wrong for years. And all markets have been hitting new highs and are now higher than ever before. People stayed out of the best market in history because of his Trump deranged bum sue them. Now, Trump has all kinds of people that review his tweets before they go out, and he think most anons would say that's definitely a purposeful missing R. The timing of this is not lost on me. This was surgical. We're inside the R delta window, the same window Q mapped with a CIA infiltration warning. CIA is here. Pray. Direct code name. Confirmation. R equals renegade. And you can see here, to be blunt, game over Q. So he thinks that missing R is really pointing to this delta, this time that all this is going to be happening. Strategic questions about who protects the king and queen. This wasn't just another post on social media by Trump. This is a move, a chess move. And on the chessboard, and most advanced military sting operation in history, moves like this mean the end game is live. What if the missing R wasn't just a signal, but the trigger for the final stage of the plan? What if Q knew this exact moment would come and left us the blueprint years in advance? What if the entire sequence from FISA to Clinton to Obama has been an orchestrated chain leading to this one decisive phase? What happens when the king's protectors are stripped away one by one until there's no shield left? What happens when the evidence trail leads every witness, every subpoena, every name back to the same command structure? What happens when the American people see in real time that all roads lead to Obama? For those in Rio Linda, again, that meaning simplification of it, that's a term that Rush Limbaugh said all the time. Trump's telling you, the marker is live. The final act is underway. The king is out of moves. And we're about to connect every dot. From Q's earliest R drops to the chessboard sequence to today's comms in a way that will make it impossible to unsee. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. And when the curtain drops, there's no coming back for the king. But before we dive in, my friends, grab that kofifi, get comfy, and let's connect some dots. The game is over when the public knows. Q. Again, I love how he just puts a quote from Q in here all the time. And that's why the game is over when the public knows. And that's what's happening right now. We're knowing it. That's why this is a cool meme to put here. It has Trump with red eyes. To be blunt, game over, Q. The R trilogy. The plan unfolds. This isn't the first time a R marker has lit up the board. What you're seeing today is part 3 of the greatest sting operation. Years in the making. And if you've been following along with me riding shotgun since the first drops, you already know this story arc of how I've tracked and mapped this all out for you, play by play, in my threads on Substack. So this guy has Substacks, and there's a part 1 that's R is targeted, R equals renegade. So that's one that you'll find here. There's a link right here for that one. So we're actually reading 3. And then, but I think you really enjoy it. I don't think you really have to have this detailed background here to enjoy this. Again, when I talk about the sting operation, right? I talked about this earlier in the show. To me, the whole election sting was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen in 2021, but it's happening now 4 years later in 2025. You can see the first time we mapped the codename Renegade to Barack Hussein Obama, Q made it clear R wasn't random. It was an identifier for the king on the board, the traitor, the architect of the entire surveillance grid. It was the moment we realized that taking down R would mean dismantling the command structure of the deep state itself. And then part 2 here he did was Checkmate King, the final move, Substack. Read now or Birkin for later. There it is. There's the link. We laid out the Q chessboard sequence. Pawns first, then bishops, the rooks, the queen, mid to end, and the king last. Subpoenas started to drop. Shields began to fall. Clinton's protection shattered. And now the board is shifting until Obama, the king, is the only one left standing and exposed. The plan was always to let the public see the sequence unfold in real time so that when the king falls, it's undeniable. It's beautiful. If you attacked 2-3 years ago, Obama, many people think he was the Messiah type thing, right? for America, when he was just the opposite, right? So that's what that beautiful thread was about as well. But now we're in part 3. Renegade targeted. The end game is near. The king is finished. That's where we are now. Trump just pulled the pin on the R marker in full public view. The code name is live. The signal is sent. The Delta window is active. And the board is cleared for checkmate. That's why the missing R in Trump's post is not a coincidence. It's not Trump doing a little trolling. It's a public-facing confirmation that the final stage is here. What if you were watching the removal of the king's defense piece by piece without realizing it? What if the subpoenas, the D-class, drops the optics of it all, was to condition the public for the one move that changes everything? What if history's biggest conspiracy theory was actually the blueprint for the biggest sting operation ever run in history? I believe that's what we're saying, guys. The great election sting is part of that. But it's only one of many pieces, right? Because now we are moving from the big picture into the hard receipts. The Q drops that prove the R marker has always been the signal for the king's takedown. The operational comms that were planted years before today's to confirm beyond a shadow of doubt that what we're watching is the plan in motion. Buckle up, friends. We're now inside the R final countdown. The next moves aren't random. They're scripted. What you're about to see was mapped years before today because now the drops speak for themselves. What had to happen first? Think logically. The DOJ and the FBI think cleaning. 64 puzzle coming together. We have reached our cruising altitude of 40,000 feet long ago. As we prepare to land, please fasten your seatbelts and make sure your seat back and folding trays are in their full upright position. Q. Another very creative way to take a Q drop post in there. Here's another meme. Puzzle coming together. Yeah. The first trigger, R marker goes live in kill brackets. CIA is here. Pray. Talking about CIA was all over the boards trying to confuse us back in the 2017 to 2020 period. Trump's missing R post syncs directly to one of the most loaded early Q drops, Q128. It wasn't just a post, it was a signal that the map is active. And when Q says future proofs past, this is exactly what he meant. So you can see this whole drop. It's a long drop here, but he analyzes this full drop. This is exactly what Q meant. Today's move was planned, documented, and timestamped years ago. Q128, November 9th, 2017. Trip added. Coordinated efforts to misdirect. Attached graphics is correct. Linked graphics are incorrect and false. Graphic is necessary and vital. Timestamps and order is critical. Review the graphic in full. Each day, post new releases. Learn and distinguish between the relevant and non-relevant news. Disinformation is real. Disinformation is necessary. So I'm going to pause there. You can see he's given instructions to the Anons to map out everything. And they did this in a beautiful way. And qnews.ag is one place you can go find a lot of this. Ex-U.S. military National Guard, 1 false, SA true. Talking primarily about Saudi Arabia, because that was the first takedown that happened when they used the disinformation of the Q boards to get the deep state looking at the United States, and all of a sudden, boom, arrest of Alaouid and all these corrupt princes that who own Twitter and just bribed all our many of our politicians. They took them off the board. It was an amazing time period there. In late 2017, early 2018. Why was this necessary? What events were asked regarding Saudi Arabia prior to Saudi Arabia events? Why is this relevant? Think mirror, look there, or here, or there. Truth is behind you. What is the map? Why is the map useful? What is a legend? Why is a legend useful? Why is it, what is the sequence? Why is it relevant? When does the map become a guide? And that's why, guys, all these Q drops were a map for us to uncover what the Rothschilds had done to our medical system, what they have been doing with the Masonry and their signs, what the banking cartel's been doing with the Rothschilds and the IRS, and what happened to all the way back to the Titanic to get rid of the people that were against the Federal Reserve. Just so much was learned and red-pilled, if you will, for all of us back in the 2017-2018 time period. And this is what this is talking about. Everything, what is a keystone? And a keystone is the awake public. Most people think that it's us coming awake. And that's why, again, thumbs up this, share this. We got to get this information out to people. Everything stated is relevant. Everything future proves past. Picture proves 40,000 feet versus 40,000 feet versus is classified. Why is the map useful? Think direction. Think full picture. Who controls the narrative? Obviously, the narrative has been always the mainstream Mockingbird media, but now these Anons helped us all and the people awake change that. Why is this relevant? What is the spell? Who is asleep? Dissemination. Attention on deck. There is an active war in your mind. Be prepared. Operations underway. Operations active. Graphic is essential. Find the keystone. Moves and counter moves. They never thought she would lose. Snow White, Godfather 3, and Iron Eagle, Q. So these were different things that people were researching. What do they mean? So people were going to watch Godfather 3 and seeing what was happening there and seeing how these different things. And Snow White, a lot of us was pointing to Saudi Arabia or the Alice in Wonderland and Iron Eagle. All these things, probably most to Bill Clinton, where he was the eagle. So, but they were pointing to all these things to get people to research. And here's a translation from this add-on, which is Digital Soldier. Q says the attached official map timeline is correct. Ignore knockoff versions. Deliberate disinformation will be used. Learn to separate signal from noise. Saudi Arabia events SA are a keystone. Ask the right questions before and after. Future proofs past. Later events like today will validate earlier drops. The battlefield is yours. Narrative control is a war zone. Ops are live. Operations are active. The Keystone event will unlock the full map. Cultural code words. Snow White, Godfather 3, Iron Eagle equals reference clusters to research. And that's what these guys did. They did a great job. Hidden bracket comms, acrostic, all bracketed letters in order. So they would take each of these brackets that Q would put in Dale and then pull together. And it would say, and this is why if you took this post, I'm going to come down here, and you took this, see how the Q dropped this? So you would take the C and the I and the A, and you'd say the is, the CIA is, you can see that right there, right? And then you continue to take the brackets here. So it's kind of a coded thing. CIA is here. And then later it said, please pray. I guess that was something that they just added. But isn't that cool? That's some of the coding that these guys were doing. So here it says hidden bracket comms, acrostic, and bracketed letters in order read. CIA is here. Pray. CIA is here. Pray. I'm trying to find the PRAY. It must be probably just this cut off because it was so long. I think it's in the rest part of it. But isn't that wild? So they had the PRAY as well. Coordinated graphic is here. Prepared. Operations active. Keystone. What if the missing R in Trump's post was timed to reactivate this exact drop? What if be prepared and operations underway were designed to light up when the proverbial wall started to close on the renegade? What happens when the keystone falls and unlocks the full map? What happens when the narrative controllers lose their spell they have cast on the public? And there's that whole drop. For those in Rio Linda, Q is saying, we gave you the real map years ago. Ignore the fakes. We told you ops were active and the keystone would trigger the sequence. Today's missing R and the public facing proof that the operation is live. The operators are active. And you can see here is a meme. Barry, you and Michael will still be together. Guantanamo is an all-male prison. Oh, funny. But here's today's missing R is a public-facing proof that the operation is live and the operators are active and the final moves are in play. If you've been watching this op for years, you know Q's timestamps aren't nostalgia, they're triggers. The R just tripped one. This drop wasn't about past, it was about preparing for this very moment in time. Trump's signal isn't an isolated shot, it's part of a mapped sequence. And Q128 is the first receipt proving it. Now, if Q128 is the activation order, the next drop tells us exactly who R is and why the removal of that piece changes the entire game. And here's a quote from Q. Insurgency is the organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control of a region. The presidency of Barack Hussein Obama began at noon EST on January 20th, 2009, when Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th president of the United States. What country was the true intended target? Q. Interesting. Maturing candidate, right? The reveal, identifying the king, R is renegade, the code name used by Obama himself. We just saw in Q128 how the map, the keystone, and the sequence were set years ago. You can see here in this Q drop 311 where it says, what is the USSS code name for Hussein? R. Define. They all knew all along. Expand your thinking, Q. So basically saying that this whole takedown of the United States, the 16-year plan to destroy America, they all knew it, and Obama was there to execute it, and Hillary to finish it. And how then a sequence were set years ago, and how Trump's missing R post signaled the operation going live. But Q didn't just give us the framework. Q told us exactly who R was. That was Q311 comes in. The drop that removed all doubt about the identity of the king. Q311, December 9th, 2017. What was the USS code name for Hussein? R defined. They all knew all along. Expand your thinking, Q. Here's the translation according to this Anna. Hussein equals Barry, Barack Osama Obama, Soreto. And that is Sotoro. Barry Sotoro, right? R revealed equals renegade. Obama personally selected Secret Service code name. Define points to the dictionary meaning of renegade. A traitor, one who abandons allegiance to their country or cause. They knew all along. The code name was chosen with foreknowledge, not a coincidence. Q instructs us to expand your thinking. The code name isn't just a label. It's a comms marker in the larger plan. What if the USS code name was itself an inside nod to Obama's role in betraying the Republic? What if those in the intel community always knew the king would have to be taken last? What happens when the public realizes the code name has been hiding in plain sight for over a decade? What happens when the same code name lights up in real time, synced to a Q drop on a day like today? And I think this was done on the 13th, so this was last week. What was the USS code name for Hussein? R. There we read that. For those in Rio Linda, Q is saying Hussein is Obama, R, renegade. Renegade means traitor. The people naming him knew exactly what they were doing. Trump's missing R in history is the digital equivalent of cornering the king with no moves left. And we're right on schedule. Q311 tells us who the king is. Now let's look at who protects him and why that protection is the last shield standing between him and checkmate. Because when the shield falls, the king falls with it. And here's a quote from Q. Hussein is evil and a real loser. No special treatment. Q. And there's that the definition of Hussein in this meme. Renegade. Noun. A person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Obama's personal selected Secret Service codename, Renegade. Synonyms: traitor, defector, dissenter, turncoat, rebel, mutineer. The King's Guard, the last shield before checkmate. Who protects the king? Who shields the traitor in chief from justice? Once you know who the king is, the next logical question is any operation is who's protecting him? Because in chess, you don't go for the king, right? And so it has a meme of that same thing here, but then it kind of another drop expands on that. Who currently protects Hussein? R. Why is this relevant? Who currently protects B, H, C? Why is this relevant? Learn. Q. Obviously talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton there is what that Q drop was talking about. All right, so because in chess you don't go for the king until the guard is removed. That's exactly what Q312 is about. Identifying a shield so you can understand why removing it is the final step before the end game. Q312, December 9th, 2017. Who currently protects Hussein? R. Why is this relevant? Who currently protects BC and Bill and Hillary Clinton? Why is this relevant? Learn. Q. Translation. Q asks us to who is protecting Obama right now. Not just physically, but legally, politically, and through media control. The same question is asked about Bill and Hillary Clinton. Why is this relevant? Because knowing the protectors tells you what networks and assets are still active. Learn. This is homework for the Anons. And Anons means anonymous. It's the people that are researching. Many call them these autistic, brilliant people, right? Research who funds, defends, and runs interference for the king and queen. What if the king protectors aren't just Secret Service agents, but entire networks of intelligence, media, and foreign assets? What if those networks are being dismantled, one subpoena, one firing, one public exposure at a time? What happens when the public realizes the same people protecting Clinton are protecting Obama? What happens when those protectors are removed and the king is left standing alone? For those in Rio Linda, Q is saying, find out who's shielding Obama and the Clintons right now. Those people and networks are the last defensive wall. Once that wall is gone, the king is exposed and the checkmate is inevitable. Q 312 makes it clear. The king's survival depends on the guard around him. The moment those guards fall, whether they are lawyers and intelligent handlers, media mouthpieces, or foreign allies, the king becomes a sitting duck. And that's exactly why the next drop, Q1277, is the nail in the coffin. But it doesn't just name R, it removes any doubt about who's targeted. And this is another Q quote. When we're all done, he'll claim Kenya citizenships as a way to escape. Q. Woo! Can you imagine that? That's going to happen, guys. I really believe. And here's another meme. And so here's Obama saying, hey, whoa. Now slow down, folks. Treason? You don't even know if I'm American. Oh boy. The confirmation of locking the target. R equals renegade, not PR. Quick review of Q's sequences thus far. Q128 activated the map. Q311 identified the king. Q312 exposed the king's guard. Now comes Q1277. The unambiguous final move. No more confusion. No more maybe it means this. Q names R, clears the fog, and leaves zero doubt as to who's in the crosshairs. Q1277, April 27, 2018. Important to note, text only. R equals renegade, not RR. Q. Translation. Q clarifies that the stroke page text turned over to Congress, R means renegade, Obama's codename, not Rod Rosenstein. This is a direct link between Obama and the intercommunication of the coup operators, not RR, cutting off the common misdirection. This was never about Rosenstein here. It was about the king himself. The text tied directly to the chain of command, putting Obama in the operational decision loop. And then obviously we got all that information in D class to point just to that, right? Even Clapper's going, well, we were told to by Obama. Right. What if those texts were the breadcrumbs that led straight to Obama's involvement in the coup? What if the missing R in Trump's history post is the public-facing nod to these very texts? What happens when the public sees that the coup against Trump wasn't just rogue DOJ FBI actors, but was commanded from the Oval Office? What happens when that evidence is declassified and played out in real time? And there's this other Q1277 where it's talking about Sarah Carter. By the way, I was with Sarah Carter, who was one of the persons being used during on the Hannity show all the time to declass some of the stuff we were getting back in the first term of Trump. And she was on my trip to Israel. That was a couple summers ago, before the war, obviously, with Tom Holman and Amanda Grace and Chris and Gus. It was awesome. So Sarah to meet and know Sarah Carter. She's probably getting her a show sometime to get her thoughts on everything. For those who reel into, Q is saying, in the coup plotters' own communications, R wasn't Rosenstein, it was Obama. Trump's missing R post is a precision strike reminding everyone that Renegade's name is in the chain of command. The op started with Obama, and it ends with Obama. Q1277 is the seal on the envelope, the hard evidence tying Renegade to the op. When you overlay that with Trump's post, the meaning is undeniable. The R marker is live. The king is trapped on the board, and the board is set for checkmate. But to understand the full magnitude of this moment, you have to zoom out even further. Q didn't just identify Renegade as the king in the political chess game. Q consequently mapped Obama to the deeper, spiritual, invisible enemy that's been at war with humanity since the beginning. This isn't just about dismantling a corrupt presidency. It's about cutting off the head of the serpent that has coiled itself around the governments, institutions, and the very soul of nations. This is why the R marker carries more weight than any other comm. It's not just about disarming the corrupt presidency. It's about exposing and uprooting the very seat of the deep state satanic cabal's command structure that's been operating in plain sight. Guys, that's why I got in this battle, changed my whole career, and doing this full time now. It's a struggle because they've taken out my PayPals and my Patreons and my YouTubes and my 47,000 people on Facebook. Almost lost my TikTok of 3,000 plus. I had to do a pill to get it back just lately. It's just financial attack after financial attack after financial attack, right? Why? Because, but I know this. I won't have any finances if I was in a gulag and they won the 2024 election, right? So it's a battle, and I appreciate you guys fighting this with me. Thank you for thumbsing these up and sharing and being a digital soldier. Help us get this information out. This is a very powerful piece right here, because this is it's a spiritual battle that we're fighting, and it's not just our country. It's the 72 other countries they took over with the selection machines, right? Not to mention what it's done to the entire world with Obama and others dropping bombs on innocent people, drones, and we got a bunch of and funding ISIS. It's just this is big stuff we're taking down right now, and it's only gonna be done with the Lord. And here's a quote from Q. It says, "Demons continue to serve the devil in his attempt to lead the world away from God and into sin." Q. And here's a meme here that's got Obama as Satan. He's definitely being led by Satan. He is not Satan, but Satan exposed from the Oval up to the shadows. The enemy didn't just leave the building. The enemy shifted to the shadows. Q mapped it years ago. The White House may have been cleared, but R was still running the board from the outside, moving pieces, sending signals, pulling strings. 2 drops 8 months apart tell the story. So if you look at Q382, which is way back in December 19th, 2017, we had tremendous worldwide support. Satan has left the White House. Day of days. Q. Translation. Q confirms the movement has massive worldwide backing at this stage of the op. Satan has left the White House. The removal of the most dangerous embedded figure from the heart of the U.S. power in Q's code, Satan, equals renegade Obama. The day of days framing signals a historic turning point, the first real break in the deep state's command and control at the highest level. This is a shocker. She never was supposed to lose, right? When Trump won 2016, I can't remember. I was in a hotel traveling, stayed up nearly all night, almost in tears when Trump actually won. I had read books from, Lance Wallnau saying that that Trump was a political wrecking ball, and that he was, and he got criticized so badly because as a Christian he was saying that Trump would be elected. So was Mark Taylor and a lot of the prophecies I read there. So when he was elected in 2016, it was like just a really big movement for me, and that was a prelude to me getting into this in late 2017, and changing my whole career, right? And starting to go live with the YouTube channel in February of 2018. So it's been a great ride with you guys. Appreciate you taking this with me, and it's just beginning. The exciting part's really just beginning. What if the departure wasn't the end, but the start of phase 2? What if removing R from the White House was about cutting visible power while letting him expose his hidden network? What happens when the shadow presidency is dragged into the light? What happens when the one they called Satan is cornered with no more pieces to move? You can see this is 382, and this is a Q&A where an anon asked, I've heard for people in France and Netherlands, Poland, Canada, and USA Today, people hunger for light, have lived under the darkness for too long. Thank you. And then Q replied to that post saying, we have tremendous worldwide support. Satan has left the White House. Day of days. Q. For those in Rio Linda, Q is saying Obama's physical exit from the White House was just step one. It wasn't politics as usual. It was a battlefield move. The bad guy left the throne, but he still had agents, assets, and tools in play. The real game was still on. And here's Q saying, is the game being played public or private? Q. But here's the problem for R. Once you've been removed from the Oval Office, you can't move openly. You have to use the shadows. And that's where Q starts dropping breadcrumbs. 7-year Delta, August 12th, 2018, Q 1859. And here's a quote from Q. This Twitter account was referenced for a specific reason, holds many questionable messages from people of power and influence. These accounts are run by big names. Translation. Q points to @S8N, Twitter account, not as a joke, but as a digital comms hub. Alleges the account contains bizarre or incriminating public exchanges with high-level players, big names, elites, possibly including R, using burner or symbolic accounts for signaling. The example tweet, I miss you, son, at Real Donald Trump, is both a taunt and a code, an open message masked as trolling. What if this was R's way of mocking his removal from the White House? What if these accounts are a real-time comms tool for the global ops? What happens when the handles are unmasked and tied directly to those in Q's crosshairs? What happens when the comms prove coordinated, not coincidence? So you can see 1859 right here. And this Satan at S8N, say Satan, say if you go 8, that's what that handle is there. I miss you, son, at real Donald Trump. Right, that's showing that this account is being used by the evil ones, this globalist cabal we're fighting. The Twitter account was referenced for a very specific reason, holds many questionable messages from people of powerful influence, and these accounts are run by big names. So there's Q letting Anons know, watch that account, because codes are being put there. For those in Rio Linda, Q saying big players run these edgy accounts. They look for like trolls, but they are actually used to send signals, test narratives, and maintain contact in plain sight. If Satan equals R, renegade, this is one of the breadcrumbs showing he never actually left the game. Now, put the two Q drops together, and the picture sharpens. Q first declares Satan, as out of the White House, a tactical victory. Boy, was it. Then months later, Q points to Satan, operating from the shadows, using covert comms to keep the machine alive. This isn't random internet drama. It's a case file in the end game against R. And every breadcrumb leads to the final board game move, checkmate. Here's a quote from Q. We will be free nation under God. Will we be a free nation under God? Or will we cede our freedom, rights, and liberty to the enemy? We all have a choice to make. Evil darkness has never been so exposed to light. Q. And here's a meme that says, why does the devil in the Bible look exactly like President Obama? And that was just UK Daily, March 18th, 2013, Sunday evening episodes of the History Hit channel. You can see that here. Spooky. Viewers note the devil from the History Channel series, the Bible. And so that's the History Channel, the Bible. The Bible Satan looks similar to President Barack Obama. Sure does. Future proves past. From the moment Q marked R as renegade, the checkmate sequence was already running. These weren't random crumbs. They were coordinated in time. Every drop, every marker a move. Every move bringing us right here, right now. 2017, Satan has left the White House, a battlefield sit rep. Not metaphor, not exaggeration. The Oval Office ripped from R's grasp, the throne emptied, but the war didn't end. The most dangerous enemy in modern history didn't vanish, it simply shifted to the shadows. 2018, the shadows start to talk. Covert comms, symbolic accounts, mocking jabs from the one they called Satan. Sending signals, pulling strings, directing assets. Phase 2 activated. Rule from the dark, never from the light. Q 1277. The seal on the envelope. The hard proof, the smoking gun. The bridge between Satan and the real endgame. Not just ending a presidency, but dismantling the shadow presidency that's been running the op ever since. And now, Trump post detonates right on the Delta. The missing R marker isn't random, it's surgical. It's the move you make when the board is locked and the opponent's last play has already been countered. This is why Q branded it into your brain. Future proves past 51 times. Because he's not unfolding. This is replaying. The same precision op that evicted R in 2017 is now being run to end him permanently, publicly, and historically. What if 2017 wasn't the finish line, but the opening move? What if 8 years of shadow moves were allowed, tracked, logged, mapped, so the entire network could be burned in one strike? What if the removal of the oval was just step 1, and step 2 is obliterating the command structure in full daylight? What happens when the former president is unmasked as the sitting commander of a global criminal empire? What happens when every comm is decrypted, every asset exposed, every puppet string severed in public view? What happens when the one Q called Satan is dragged into the light and stripped of every ounce of power? There's a meme right here of Obama, close-up of him. Satan has left the White House. Q. For those in Rio Linda, you are watching the final phase of the largest counterinsurgency op ever run on U.S. soil. It is executed in full view. It is running on exact timestamps. It's not theory, it's clockwork. Military planning at its finest. Q. By the way, Trump's post wasn't just another truth bomb. It was the receipts. Paul Krugman, the New York Times professional propagandist, has been one of the machine's most loyal echo chambers since 2016. Russia hoax, he sold it. FISA fraud, he defended it. Ukraine perfect call, he smeared it. Impeachment hoaxes 1 and 2, he pushed them both. Column after column, headline after headline, he carried water for renegades ops, laundering the lies and protecting the network. Now Trump calls him out by name, right on the marker, not because of economics, but because Krugman's byline is part of the paper trail that proves the fake news wasn't just complicit, it was operational in the coup. Future proves past. Even their experts were in on the game. And now they are all in the blast radius. The clock isn't ticking toward an event, it's ticking toward a reveal. Every breadcrumb is already in the archive, and every comm already decoded. The only thing left is for the world to watch the truth detonate in real time. And in the end, well, let's just say the end won't be for everyone. Q. Because treason doesn't pay well in the end. Q. And that's the part they fear most. It's already too late. And here is another meme having Trump shaking President Obama's hand, and there's crosshairs on the head of Obama. Treason equals execution. Woo! If this hit you like a thunderbolt, do one thing. Share it, repost it, meme it, like it. Get it to someone still asleep, because nothing spreads truth like you. And remember, we are the news now. Nothing can stop what is happening. Is the new. Nothing can stop what is coming. Enjoy the show. It's got a little popcorn and a digital soldier D. And where we go when we go all, and a bunch of other hashtags. Digital soldiers, hold the line, trust the plan. Real One's headquarters. And then he has a link to his Substack there. We are the news now with a Pepe the Frog. All right, so that is the end of the beautiful work done by Digital Soldier. You can find his link on. This will be in the show notes as well. BlessTeach.com, bless with the number 2 teach.com. Guys, do go check that out. There's a couple things I need help with. This whole ministry is moving into a media network ministry. Okay, and I can't do that alone. And so I really need help. I need help with volunteers. I need help with partners. I need help with people that, an example is people that go, there's tons of family content out there that are on YouTube and Rumble that we can amplify now on the TV platforms. So this whole Faith and Freedom TV is the whole new ministry, right? So if you guys can help me out, the first thing that you can help me out with is, number one, is, just figure, you can go to Faith and Freedom .tv/partner. That's faithandfreedom.tv/partner, and it'll give you all the ways you can help. But one of the biggest things I need is people just simply downloading the app. right? And giving it a 5-star review on the different platforms. So that's a very simple free thing you can do, right? So just whatever TV platform you have, please download that and give it a review. Whatever mobile platform, whether it's iOS or Android, download it and give it a 5-star review. Really would appreciate that. Usually when you have a Roku device and you download it, and again, tons of free content on there. There's going to be exclusive content on there as well, including from Larry Ballard when I interview him on all of these red pill topics every week. I'll probably go live every Thursday. It's going to be going live, and you guys will love that. You will not be able to see that on Rumble, right, or any other platform. It'll only be on the Faith and Freedom TV. That's part of how we're going to drive people there and amplify people. But getting 5-star reviews will be really important. Somebody, because there was a technical glitch in airing one of the live events, and somebody gave it a 1-star on Google. So especially if you have an Android, I need your help, right? We need to get enough 5 stars to dwell that down, because it's an incredible app. If you want to really see what it looks like, you don't even have to download anything. Just go to faithandfreedom.tv, faithandfreedom.tv, and you will be able to see a beautiful web app. So it's got a web app, all these TV apps, and all these other apps, and then we're marketing all over the place with shorts, and with going to podcasts as well to show a sampling of people on. But we have an incredible lineup coming. It's like Mary Crowley and Anna Ruth, and Anna and Ruth do a great job on their show. We've got Amber May coming on. We have that just went live. We have the Take Your Power Back, Kim Yater is live now. We've got Dr. Tenpenny here. Many people. Mary Crowley and her Open the Heavens is going to be, her live events are going to be here. So live events, 24/7 channels. There's going to be 5 or 6 24/5 channels. There's only 2 now. So make sure you join that. And then there's a small fee to get to some of the content, like $4.99 a month. I think the first month's free. If you really want to come on and really support us, do the full $9.99 a month. It's even cheaper if you do it for the year. But these are ways you can jump on board to help us amplify voices of God's people. That's what he's told me to do. He's told us to do this, right? So I need your help. That's one way you can really help is making sure you've downloaded and give 5-star reviews of the apps. That would be really appreciated. And obviously, partners are going to be vital too. I need to network into wealthy people that have the same heart. How do we amplify God's people's voices that have been silenced by elite media? And there's a lot of elite media that have silenced people, right? Including even the Daystar networks and the TBN networks that only the rich mega pastors can be on there, right? So that's one area. The music's going to be on here, right? New music artists are coming on, independents, silenced by Nashville and the Sonys of the world. And then the biggest one obviously is the media silencing everyone. Social media is silencing everybody. But we can amplify the people's voices on these TV platforms, on these mobile devices, and across all, and getting people all together with exclusive content coming. It's going to be fun. And so please help by downloading the apps on your TV platform, whether it's the Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, or your Roku device. Almost everybody should have one of those anyways. You think you get a Fire TV to plug in the back of your TV for $19, and it turns it into a smart TV for $19, right? And then you can download the Faith and Freedom TV. So just all you do is search on Faith with the N, Freedom TV. Remember that. So I'm going to show you just real quickly the just the web app. So it's faithandfreedom.tv, faithandfreedom.tv, and we'll show you that right quick. I'm getting phone calls because the people are waiting for me, but this is important, guys. And so all this content right here is free, right? The first 6 rows of content. We've got the live 24/7 Faith and Freedom that plays all those people are talking about. Growing Your Faith is a faith channel. We're going to have a health channel on here called Biohackingville. We're going to have a ton of a family channel as well. Lance Wallnow's live on here. Comes on every Sunday afternoon. I go live on Praise and Prayer and Word and Worship on here. Open the Heavens event's going to be here. A lot of live events are going to be coming here, right, in the live streams. And then we have just one example from this 7x24 show. We put on a podcast out there to highlight that. We have Bible study guide videos I do that are just, there's I think over 100 of those now, getting close to it. Word and worship services and music. So if you love worshiping, grow your faith on demand. These are all on demand. Equipping courses, free. And then here's all the people that are on it. Amber May, Tenpenny, Take Your Power Back by Kim Yater, Lance Wallnau, the Resistance Chicks do a great show. By the way, we got the Dear Anna and Ruth, and you've got I Am Pain Free, which is a health channel. You got the beautiful Psalms and music coming from Kent Henry, and then you got obviously the Blessed Cheat Show as well, and many more are coming, right? So I think that's 9. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I missed Mary Crowley. Now's the Time by Mary Crowley. That's an awesome one too. So 1, 2, 3. I think we have 12 content providers with the plans that have hundreds, right? So and with 5 or 6 more coming here in the next month. So again, need your help by going to faithandfreedom.tv. Make sure you bookmark that web app. Bookmark that web app, and then go give 5-star reviews on your TV platform, whatever you use. When you're on your TV platform and you're doing Roku, you can't really do it from your remote. You have to go to a link, which is right here, by the way. Pretty easy to find it. You just go to this right here where it says apps. See where it says apps right there, APPS. And it'll have links to all the platforms. So it'll have links to Roku where you can give it a 5-star review, links to Fire TV. Again, that's just going to faithandfreedom.tv on the web app, and hitting the apps tab will give you links to where you can download the app, but usually you do that on your TV here, right? But it also is where you can get and download it on your Android or iOS. But it's on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku. All these people that God wants to amplify are not on these platforms. And that's our job. Get eyeballs on people's content that God wants to amplify. Amplifying his people's his people that he wants to amplify that are silenced by the elite media. And there's a lot. We got to take these mountains back. And I can't do this without you. So thank you for your help, and God bless. That we're going to finish up tonight's program. Love you all. And we'll talk with you all soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Christian soldiers, we are in this together. We are blessed to teach. We are neighbors. We believe. We are blessed to be free, to love our God and country.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.